The first thing I noticed was the ticking. It wasn't a clock. It was sharper, like the stutter of a heart monitor, pulsing in perfect rhythm beside me. Cold air kissed my skin, where the hospital gown gaped open at the back, and the scent of bleach burned the inside of my nose. Something beeped, something hummed. My mouth was dry as dust, and my tongue felt like a sponge left out in the sun. I blinked. The light above me was too white, too bright, like staring at God's ceiling lamp. Then I heard the voice, high-pitched, filled with giddy relief, like a shaken soda being opened. "Mummy, you finally woke up." The small weight hit my side before I could register what was happening. Piff! A pair of tiny arms wrapped around me, tight and urgent. I flinched, more from confusion than pain. My head turned slowly. A child, a boy, no older than 6 or 7, with unruly brown hair and wide, please melt, like cinnamon cereal and fabric softener. His grip on my torso tightened. I didn't know him. Behind him, a doctor, tall, olive-skinned, clipboard in hand, stood smiling like this was the happiest moment of the day. A nurse hovered nearby with a tray of instruments, but her eyes flicked between me and the boy with unease. Where? I tried to speak, but my throat seized. It felt like I hadn't used it in weeks. The doctor stepped forward. "Take it easy, Miss Lane. You've just come out of a medically induced coma. You've been here for nearly 3 months. 3 months." I tried to sit up, but pain lanced down my spine, and my body rebelled. The little boy, still clinging to my side, helped support me gently. His eyes looked so full of love, too full. I stared down at him, heart hammering. I'm sorry," I croaked. "Who are you?" the boy giggled. "You... funny, Mummy. It's me, Ela." The name meant nothing to me. My chest hollowed as I looked up at the doctor, desperate for sense, for reality to click into place. "I don't have a son," I said. The room fell silent. The nurse's smile froze. The doctor's pen paused on the clipboard. Eli tilted his head, smile fading just a little. "It's okay, Mommy. You just forgot." It said that might happen. "No," I said, firmer this time. "I don't. I've never had children. I live alone." The doctor gently placed a hand on my shoulder. "Memory loss is common after a trauma of this magnitude. Miss Lane, you were in a major car accident. Your car flipped after swerving off Highway 7. We had to keep you sedated after the surgery." "I don't care about the accident," I snapped, panic flooding my voice. "Now, that child Delius, not mine." The boy's lip trembled, his eyes brimmed. "Please don't say that, Mummy," he whispered. The nurse approached. It's okay, Eli. Let's give your mummy a little rest." "No," he shrieked suddenly, clawing at my arm. You promised." His scream pierced the quiet hum of the machines, and for one surreal second, all I could do was stare at him, this strange little boy whose face was crumpling with heartbreak, as if I'd just torn his world in half. Nurse pried him gently away. cooing reassurances, but he fought her with surprising strength. "I was so good while you were sleeping," he cried. "You said you'd never leave again. You promised, Mummy." The door shut behind them. Silence returned. This actor sat down beside me, sighing. "Miss Lane, for the past 3 months, Eli has visited every single day. He knows you better than anyone right now. Your legal paperwork lists him as your dependent. There are photos, medical records, school forms. If this is amnesia, it may take time to recover your full memory." But I grabbed the edge of the blanket and clenched it in my fists. "I know what I remember. I said, I don't know him. I never gave birth. I never adopted. That is not my child." The doctor regarded me, expression unreadable. "Then we'll take it slow," he said softly. "But maybe consider the possibility that something in you knows him. Even if you don't yet remember." I turned my head toward the window. The reflection in the glass didn't match my movement. I blinked. But by the time I looked again, it was just me, pale, hollow-eyed, broken, alone. The first thing I asked for the next morning was a phone. The nurse, an older woman named Grace, smiled as she handed it over. "You've had a rough few months, Miss Lane. Don't strain yourself too much." She lingered by the door, her expression warm but guarded, as if she didn't trust me not to scream again. The screen was smudged and cracked, but the lock screen lit up with my name, Marie Lane. Underneath it was a photo. I stared at it. It was me, laughing. Pear, wind-blown eyes, squinting at the sun, mouth wide open, like I was mid. Beside me was a child, Ely, clutching a dripping ice cream cone and grinning from ear to ear. I looked down at my own expression. There was joy there, familiar joy, but I had no memory of it. I opened the gallery. More photos, dozens of them. Eli at the park, at school, asleep with a stuffed rabbit curled under his chin. There were selfies of the two of us together, photos of a Christmas tree with his name on a stocking, a video of me singing to him in a car while he giggled in the back seat. Bye. I scrolled until my hand shook. None of this made sense. I knew my life. I was 34, single, a freelance editor. My last serious relationship ended 3 years ago. I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment above a laundromat. I spent my weekends binging horror films and ordering takeout. I was forgettable. I was alone. But in these pictures, I looked like someone else. Someone better. Someone ... motherly. There was a knock. Froze. The door opened slowly, and Eli stepped in, holding a crumpled piece of paper and a shy smile. His eyes were ringed in red. He had cried hard last night. He stepped closer to the bed. "I drew you something," he said softly. Took it. It was a child's drawing of us stick figures holding hands, a sun beaming overhead. But what unsettled me wasn't the drawing itself. It was the words scrawled above it in a childish scrawl. "I'm glad you came back, Mummy. Please, don't let her take you again." "Who's her?" I asked. Ela looked up at me with eyes too serious for his age. You don't remember yet. That's okay. You will soon. I tried to keep my face calm. Eli, can I ask you something? He nodded. Before my accident, where did we live? In the blue house, he said immediately, with the creaky stairs and the pink door. You always said it used to be your grandma's house. That was not my house. Not even close. I faked a smile. And do you remember your dad? Eli's face darkened. He looked down. There's no daddy. You said he was lost in the mirror. My heart skipped the mirrors. He nodded slowly. You said that's where bad things hide. That's why we don't have any mirrors at home. Remember, I didn't remember any of it. Later that day, when they took me down for physical therapy, I asked the nurse, pushing my wheelchair, if I could speak with someone about my legal record. I needed to see birth certificates, adoption forms, hospital intake, notes. She smiled, but said she'd pass the request along. They never brought it up again. When I got back to the room, my phone was gone. I asked where it was, and Grace told me kindly. I didn't believe her. That night I lay awake in the dark, the hospital TV playing soft in. I turned my head toward the window, expecting to see the city lights. Instead, I saw my reflection in the black glass. Except I wasn't moving. I held my breath in the reflection. My eyes were open, but the figure didn't breathe. She only smiled. I blinked. She didn't. And just as I sat upright with a gasp, the figure vanished, replaced with the glow of a passing car's headlights outside. I pressed my back into the pillows, pulling the blanket tighter. From down the hall, I heard the faint sound of a child's voice. Don't worry, I'll keep her asleep next time. I was discharged 5 days later. The doctors said I was healing faster than expected, though they still talked in cautious tones about possible cognitive gaps. They called it post-traumatic dissociation, a common result of prolonged unconsciousness and stress. One psychiatrist told me, as if I were a child misunderstanding a magic trick, the mind protects itself by. None of them had an answer for why I'd wake up in cold sweats, drenched, with the memory of a woman's laughter echoing in my head my own voice. But wrong. Eli rode in the back seat of the social worker-esque car beside me on the way home. He hummed the whole way. A tune. I didn't know, tapping his fingers on the window like he couldn't wait to get back. I sat beside him, watching the houses pass. Nothing was familiar. Not the streets, not the signs, not even the sky. The sun seemed to white. The neighborhood was tucked into a cul-de-sac lined with modest homes. Vezors apparently was a pale blue Victorian with cracked white trim and overgrown hedges. The pink door stood out like an open wound. I felt sick as we pulled into the driveway. I told them you'd come back. Eli whispered proudly, already unbuckling his seatbelt. I kept it just like you wanted. He ran to the door ahead of us, fishing a key out of his tiny pocket and struggling with the lock. The social worker, a man named Derek, who had barely spoken 2 words since the drive began, lingered with me on the porch. You'll probably feel disoriented for a while, he said. I've never been here before, I said quietly. Goodbye, He opened his mouth, then closed it again. Call if you need anything. Then he left. Eli pushed the door open. I stepped inside. The house smelled faintly of old lavender and something sweet beneath it, like melted wax or overripe fruit. The floors creaked under my weight as I moved through the entryway. There was a coat rack, a small bench, muddy sneakers in the corner. Pictures lined the hallway, each frame meticulously straight. I examined them. All of them showed me an Eli at the beach, at Halloween, eating pancakes. One photo stopped me cold. It was me, asleep in bed. Eli was curled up beside me, thumb in his mouth. But I wasn't smiling. I looked dead. Skin pale, hair tangled, mouth slightly open. I didn't remember the photo being taken. I didn't even remember the sheet. You looked so peaceful, Eli said, appearing beside me. I didn't want to wake you. I slowly turned toward him. Who took this picture? He shrugged. You said, sometimes cameras take pictures even when no one's touching them. That the house remembers things. My stomach turned. The rest of the tour felt like walking through someone else's dream. There was a bedroom with a faint blue wall and a large window, filled with my clothes, my books, my scent only. None of it felt like mine. The handwriting in the notebook on the desk resembled mine, but curled in strange ways, like someone had been trying to imitate it. Drawings Eli had made littered the room, most of them innocent, but not all. One showed a tall woman with long black hair bending backwards through a door, her mouth too wide, eyes scribbled out with red crayon. Another showed Eli holding my hand, standing next to another figure, also me, but twisted, broken. I draw them, so I don't forget who's real, Eli said softly when he saw me staring. I turned to him. Eli, can you tell me something? The truth. He looked up, silent. Before I woke up, was I ever mean to you? His expression didn't change, but the air seemed to shift. He nodded. Just once. But only when you were her. I didn't press him. True. I couldn't. That night, I lay in the bed that was supposed to be mine, trying to sleep. Eli had insisted on sleeping in his own room across the hall. I'm a big boy now, he said, proudly tucking himself in. I stared at the ceiling for hours. Somewhere around midnight I heard it, a low thud-like, someone dropping onto the floor upstairs. Then another. Then soft footsteps pacing slowly back and forth above me. Even though Eli's room was on the same floor, I didn't move. Eventually, I heard something else. A faint voice, barely audible over the silence. Mummy's home. It sang in a voice exactly like mine. But she's not alone. The next morning, I went looking for proof. While Eli sat on the living room floor, building a tower out of Legos, his humming a constant background, slipped quietly into the bedroom that was supposed to be mine. I shut the door. It didn't click. I tried again. The door wouldn't latch. The lock was broken. Had it always been? I crossed to the vanity where a journal lay neatly beside a small mirror. The mirror's edges were chipped, The glass warped, almost wavy like rippling water. I turned it over. My reflection was smiling. I wasn't. I dropped it so fast. It cracked against the hardwood. A sharp breath left my lungs. I backed away, staring. But it was just a mirror again. Just my reflection. Pale and haggard, but normal. I sat on the edge of the bed and picked up the journal. The handwriting was neat at first. Definitely mine, but more delicate. Like I had been trying to write gently for someone else's sake. The entries dated back a year, then 6 months, then 3. Each one described a perfect domestic life. Waking up with Eli, making pancakes, going to the park. Cute things, he said. Funny faces he made. His laugh, his drawing. He made up a game where we can't look in mirrors after dark. I think it's adorable. He said they use the mirrors like doors. I asked who they were, and he just shrugged. Kids have such wild imaginations. Another. Sometimes I catch him staring at me. Not in a bad way, just intense. Like he's waiting for something. He gives me the chills. And later, I woke up with scratches on my arms again. I don't remember how they got there. Eli says, I was sleepwalking and talking in a different voice. I don't want to believe him, but I think I saw her again. The other me, watching from the corner of the room. Blinked, and she was gone. I flipped faster. The pages grew more frantic, the handwriting sloppier. I locked all the mirrors in the attic. I'm not me all the time anymore. Eli says it's better when I sleep, that I'm nicer when I'm dreaming. I saw her in the kitchen last night. She was making tea, like she belonged there. But when she looked at me, her eyes were just holes, not so, just deep, endless holes. Then the final entry, dated about a week before the accident. I think she wants to take my place again. I think she already has. But Eli says he'll keep me anchored. He says he's not scared. I don't know where he came from, but I believe him. I slammed the journal shut, heart pounding. When I opened the bedroom door, Eli was standing right there, staring up at me. How long were you there? I asked, trying to stay calm. He shrugged. You weren't supposed to read that yet, he said softly. She gets mad when you remember too much too fast. Who's she? He didn't answer. He just walked away. That night, I dreamed I was underwater. Not swimming, trapped, floating beneath black waves, watching my reflection ripple above me, smiling, waving. I pounded on the surface, screaming without sound. My lungs burned. When I woke up, I was standing in front of the hallway mirror, holding a knife. Eli was standing behind me, not scared, just watching. The knife was still in my hand. I stood in front of the mirror, its cold surface reflecting my wide, panicked eyes, and the blade clutched too tightly in my grip. I didn't remember getting out of bed. I didn't remember walking to the mirror. I didn't remember picking up the knife from the kitchen drawer. But I was there. I was awake. Eli stood just behind me in the hallway, clutching his stuffed rabbit by one limp ear. Did I wake you up? I asked. my voice thin. "No," he said. "You've been standing there for a while." My stomach dropped. "How long is a while, Eli?" P didn't answer. Instead, he stepped closer and reached up toward the mirror, not to touch it, but to knock. 3 slow, deliberate taps. Knock, knock, knock. The mirror didn't crack or move, but the air around us shifted. It felt like the house inhaled. But the glass seemed darker now, like we were staring through thick fog into a room with no lights. "You shouldn't stay here tonight," Eli said. "There." I crouched beside him. "Eli, I need you to tell me the truth. Who is she?" "The woman in the mirrors. The other me." He looked down at the floor. "She doesn't like being called other." My voice dropped. "Eli, please." He glanced toward the ceiling, the attic. "She came through when you hit your head last year. You were asleep for a long time after that, too. She said it was her turn. I didn't like her, but she looked like you. So I tried to be good." I stared at him. "You said I promised. When I woke up, that I'd never leave again. That was wasn't it?" He nodded. "She said if you woke up again, we'd have to share." My blood went cold, and the attic. I asked, dread curling in my stomach. He pointed upward. "That's where she goes when you're here. But she gets mad if we go up there. Sometimes I hear her walking." I looked up at the ceiling. Piete hatch was just visible at the end of the hallway, a square outline with a cord hanging down. I had passed under it every day without really noticing. "How long has she been up there?" Eli didn't answer, so I got the ladder. The pull string snapped when I yanked it. A soft puff of dust rained down from above. I grabbed a kitchen chair and climbed up, forcing the hatch open with my hands. Warm air, thick and stale, greeted me. Something sweet was rotting up there. The smell hit me like wet heat, old fruit dust, and something chemical underneath it all. I climbed the creaking wooden stairs slowly, one hand still clutching the knife. The attic was dark, lit only by the weak beam of Eli's flashlight, which he'd silently handed me without being asked. The floor was uneven and cluttered with old furniture, covered in sheets. Spiderwebs glistened in corners. Mirrors, at least a dozen, were stacked against the walls, turned backward. I turned one around. It showed me, but not me. The reflection was identical. Same clothes, same face. But her eyes didn't blink with mine. Pleat, they stared a split second too long. Her mouth twitched upward when mine did not. I turned it back. There was a noise, soft, like a breath, not mine. I turned, aiming the flashlight toward the far end of the attic. And there she was, sitting cross-legged behind a tall, standing mirror, partially hidden in shadow. Posh! She looked exactly like me, but her posture was wrong. Her shoulders slumped too much. Her head tilted too far. Her smile was lazy, unnatural, like a puppet that had been hung too long in one pose. "Back so soon?" she asked in my voice. My legs locked. She stood. He said, "You'd forget." Bide. "You always come back, don't you? You never stay gone." I raised the knife, hand trembling. "What are you?" She stepped forward, arms open. "I'm what's left. when you fall asleep. I'm what takes care of him when you don't. No, I whispered. You're not real. She laughed. That's what you said last time. I backed toward the hatch. Tell me, Marie, she purred, if I'm not real. Why is Eli more afraid of you than he is of me? I fled the attic. I barely remembered climbing down the ladder. One moment, I was face to face with the thing that wore my skin like an old sweater. The next, I was slamming the hatch shut behind me, heart thudding, so loud it drowned out Eli's voice calling my name. He stood at the end of the hall, wide-eyed, hugging his stuffed rabbit like a shield. I grabbed his hand. We're leaving right now. No, he said, tugging against me. She won't let you. I yanked the front door open and froze. The world outside was wrong. The street was empty, silent. The neighbors' houses looked the same, but all the windows were blacked out. No cars, no birds, no breeze. The sky was the dull gray of a dead TV channel, flat and buzzing, even without sound. It wasn't just quiet. It was hollow. Eli, I whispered, where are we? He looked up at me, tears forming. We're still dreaming, he said. You didn't really wake up. Not all the way. Not yet. Behind us, the attic hatch creaked. The sound was slow and deliberate, like fingers running down a ribcage. I turned just in time to see her descend. Her face was mine. Her eyes weren't. They were vast and empty, like mirrors, with nothing behind them. Her smile never reached them. Time's up, she said. I shoved Ely behind me. You're not taking him. She laughed. I'm not here for him. I'm here for you. The air bent around her. The walls pulsed. My vision blurred. I staggered. Do you really think you're the original? She asked, walking closer. You think you're the one who woke up? That this is your body, your mind, your child? I felt something warm and sharp in my palm. The knife. She stopped inches from me, her breath ice on my cheek. Maybe I'm not the one who came through, she whispered. Maybe you are. I stared at her, and I knew. I didn't remember the car crash. I didn't remember giving birth. I didn't remember anything before the coma. Not really. Just flashes, shapes, the color of my toothbrush, the weight of keys I didn't recognize. Maybe she was right. Maybe I had never really woken up. But Eli, he was real. His fear was real. His laugh, his art, his stupid rabbit. And if I wasn't his mother, I would become her, even if I had to fight her in every mirror forever. I looked back at Eli. I love you, I said. He shook his head, crying. Don't let her take you again. I turned to her. I'm not going anywhere. And I drove the knife into the mirror on the wall. Pitch! The glass shattered like a scream, shards slicing the air, reflecting endless versions of her, screaming, shifting, clawing, crumbling into silver dust. The house wailed around us, the windows shattered inward. A gale of hot wind roared through the walls like a mouth exhaling. Then silence. I woke up in a hospital again. Different this time. Brighter. Outside the window, I could hear cars, birds, life. A nurse looked up from the corner. "Welcome back," she said. "You've been out for 2 weeks. No Eli, no pink door, no mirrors." I asked for a phone. I called my apartment. My voicemail answered. My voice. I wasn't sure if it felt familiar. Weeks later, after they released me, I went back to my apartment. My books, my job, my life. It all fit, mostly. But every now and then, I see something out of the corner of my eye. A flicker in the bathroom mirror. A Bai's drawing taped to the back of my closet door that I don't remember ever finding. A little stuffed rabbit on my kitchen table. You finally woke up.